It was meant to be a simple getaway. A chance to reconnect. That's what Michael promised me. His voice soft and pleading over breakfast that Friday morning. His brothers, James and Tom, had suggested a quick drive out to the desert. Just the four of us in Tom's beat-up Ford pickup, blasting old rock tunes and stopping for cheap burgers along the way. I hesitated at first. James and Tom had always treated me like an intruder, their smirks and side glances making it clear I wasn't part of their tight-knit crew. But Michael insisted. Things have been tough. Emily, he said, his hand on mine. We need this. It'll be good for us. I relented, packing a small bag with sandwiches and water, hoping maybe this time things would feel different. The drive started out tense, the air thick with their inside jokes that sailed right over my head. I sat crammed against the passenger door, Michael in the middle, his thigh pressed against mine, but his attention fixed on his brother's booming laughter. They cranked up the radio, singing off-key to songs I didn't know, while I stared out at the endless stretch of Arizona highway, the sun baking the asphalt into wavy mirages. 3 hours in, we pulled off at a run-down gas station in the middle of nowhere, tumbleweeds rolling across the cracked pavement, a single rusty pump, and a faded sign creaking in the wind. The attendant inside looked like he'd been forgotten by time, his eyes dull behind smudged glasses. I need to use the restroom, I said, stepping out to stretch my legs. The heat hit me like a wall, dust clinging to my skin. I bought a bottle of water from the cooler, paid with a crumpled $5 from my pocket, and lingered for a moment in the cool air of the store. When I walked back out, squinting against the glare, the truck was gone, vanished. My heart skipped, then hammered. I circled the building, thinking maybe they'd looped around for a laugh. Michael, I called, my voice thin in the vast emptiness. Nothing but the hum of distant traffic on the interstate. A scrap of paper caught my eye near the pump, a gas receipt with hasty scrawl on the back. Good luck finding your way back. Princess. The words blurred as rage and disbelief crashed over me. They had done this. Planned it. Left me stranded with nothing, no phone, no wallet, no bag. Everything I'd brought was in that truck. The sun beat down mercilessly as I stood there, the bottle of water warming in my grip. Humiliation burned in my chest, hot and sharp, mingling with the ache of betrayal. Michael, the man who'd vowed to cherish me, had chosen his brother's cruel game over me. Again. I could picture them now, howling with laughter as they sped away. Michael glancing back with that guilty shrug he always wore when he let them push too far. Part of me wanted to scream, to flag down a car and beg for help, to call and unleash the storm of hurt boiling inside. But another part, deeper and colder, whispered, no. Don't give them the satisfaction. Don't chase. Let the silence swallow them whole. I straightened my shoulders, turned away from the direction they'd gone, and started walking toward the unknown horizon. Each step kicked up dust, a quiet declaration that I was done being their punchline. The road stretched endlessly, the heat mirage distorting the asphalt like a fever dream. My sandals chafed against my heels, blisters forming with every mile. But I pushed on, sipping sparingly from the water bottle. Thoughts swirled in my mind like vultures, memories of the slow rot that had led here. When I met Michael 5 years ago at a community college mixer in Phoenix, he was all charm and easy smiles. The kind of guy who remembered your coffee order and surprised you with wildflowers picked from a roadside ditch. We married young. Too young, maybe. In a simple courthouse ceremony with dreams of a cozy house and kids someday. But life chipped away at us. Michael lost his construction job during a downturn. And instead of fighting back, he retreated into bitterness, spending nights at dive bars with James and Tom, Those brothers, they were poison from the start. James, the loudmouth mechanic with a perpetual smirk. And Tom, the quiet one whose eyes always lingered too long. They'd crash our apartment unannounced, raiding the fridge and turning our living room into their personal frat house. "Emily's got that resting bitch face again," James would joke, elbowing Michael until he chuckled along. One night, they accidentally spilled beer on my favorite dress during a barbecue, laughing as I stood there dripping. Humiliated. Michael just handed me a towel, muttering, "Lighten up, babe. It's just fun." I swallowed it all, fighting back tears, convincing myself that enduring was love. But each jab eroded me, turning me into a shadow, quiet, compliant, invisible. The night before the trip, Michael had come home reeking of whiskey, slurring that his brothers thought I was dragging him down. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the crack in my heart widening. Now, out here in the desert, that crack had become a chasm. Hours blurred under the relentless sun. My skin burning, throat parched. Doubt crept in. What if no one stopped? What if this was my end? Collapsing in the dirt like discarded trash? But then a battered Chevy sedan slowed, pulling onto the shoulder. The driver, an older woman with salt and pepper hair and a kind, weathered face, rolled down her window. "You all right, hon? Looks like you've been through hell." Her voice was warm, laced with a faint southern drawl. I hesitated, survival instinct screaming caution. But exhaustion won. "I could use a lift," I admitted. She nodded, unlocking the door. "Name's Ruth. Hop in. I'm headed to a little town up ahead, Bisbee." "You, Emily," I said, sliding in. The air conditioning was a mercy, cooling the fire in my veins. Ruth didn't pry at first, just handed me a spare water from her cooler and drove in companionable silence. But as the miles passed, the dam broke. I told her bits about the abandonment, the note, the years of quiet erosion. She listened without judgment, her hands steady on the wheel. "Sounds like you dodged a bullet. Sugar. Men like that? They ain't worth the dirt on your shoes." We arrived in Bisbee as dusk fell. The quirky mining town with its colorful Victorian houses clinging to steep hills. Ruth insisted on dropping me at a modest motel, slipping me a few 20s before driving off. "Pay it forward someday," she said with a wink. That night, in a room with faded floral curtains and a humming mini-fridge, I stared at the mirror, seeing not the broken wife, but a survivor. The silence I'd chosen wasn't weakness, it was my first act of war. The next morning, hunger gnawed at me, but so did resolve. I couldn't hide forever. I walked the hilly streets until I found a diner, Copper Queen Cafe, its neon sign flickering invitingly. Inside, the air smelled of fresh pancakes and strong coffee. The owner, a no-nonsense woman named Carla with tattooed arms and a sharp gaze, eyed me skeptically when I asked about work. "You got experience," she barked. "I'll learn fast, I promised." She tossed me an apron. "Prove it." "Bus tables through lunch. Don't screw up." I dove in, hands trembling at first. But the rhythm soothed me, clearing plates, pouring refills, dodging spills. By shift's end, Carla grunted approval. "Come back tomorrow. Pays crap, but tips add up." I introduced myself as Emma, a subtle shift that felt like armor. Weeks turned into months. I saved every dime, eating diner scraps and crashing in the motel until Carla noticed my weariness and offered a cot in her back room. "Don't make it weird," she said gruffly. But her toughness hid kindness. She taught me to handle rowdy miners with a firm stare, to whip up perfect eggs, to laugh off bad days. The town embraced me slowly, old mister, Harlan. Who tipped extra for remembering his black coffee? Young Sophia. A high school dropout I tutored in math during breaks. I built a life from scraps. But the pain lingered like a bruise nights when I'd jolt awake, dreaming of Michael's laugh echoing in the desert. Yet, with each day, the silence grew powerful. No calls home. No social media. I vanished, letting their guilt fester in the void. Back in Phoenix, Michael unraveled. At first, he waited smugly, phone in hand, betting on my desperation. When days passed without a peep, worry turned to frenzy. He drove back to the gas station, grilling the attendant who shrugged. She walked off. Didn't look back. Panic set in. He bombarded my old number with texts, voicemails pleading, then raging. He lost his temp job at the warehouse when rumors spread. Did you hear? He ditched his wife in the desert like some bad movie. Friends distanced themselves, whispering about the prank gone wrong. James and Tom, once his enablers, backed off when the backlash hit. James got sidelined at his garage for bad vibes. Tom buried in bar tabs to drown the shame. Michael's apartment devolved into chaos, empty bottles, unwashed dishes, the echo of solitude. He haunted our old spots, a park bench, the corner cafe, hoping for a glimpse. But I was gone. The silence wasn't just absence, it was judgment, stripping him bare. For years later, Bisbee had become home. I'd risen to co-manager at the cafe. My name etched on the menu board, Emma's Special Omelette. I rented a cozy attic apartment overlooking the canyon, filled with thrifted books and potted succulents. I volunteered at a women's shelter, sharing quiet stories of escape with those who needed hope. Strength had replaced fragility. I wore my scars like badges, my hair longer, my smile genuine. Until one rainy afternoon, the door chime rang, and in walked a ghost. Michael Gaunt. Eyes shadowed, clothes rumpled like he'd driven nonstop. He froze, recognition dawning like a slow wound. Emily? His voice cracked, raw with desperation. I didn't flee. The diner was empty save for Carla in the back. I met his gaze steadily. It's Emma now. What do you want? He slumped onto a stool, pulling out his phone, hundreds of unanswered calls, texts begging forgiveness. I've been searching. I lost everything. Job, brothers, sanity. Please, just talk. The air thickened with unspoken hurt, the betrayal hanging like smoke. You left me to rot, I said, voice low but steady, for a laugh. And now you want absolution? He crumbled, tears streaking his face. I was wrong. Stupid. Let me make it right. But the emptiness in me echoed back, no. I poured him coffee, black like his regrets. Drink it. Then go. He sipped in silence, the weight of 4 years crushing him. As he left, shoulders bowed. I felt no triumph, just release. The price of his betrayal was his ruin, mine was the quiet rebuild. In the end, silence had been the sharpest blade, cutting clean through the ties that once bound us. And I was finally whole, in a world of my own making.